Hi, welcome to Building SaaS. I'm Matt Lehman. This is attempt number 3 at getting the stream going, so we're just going to hope for the best this time. I did check my internet before I started streaming this evening, and it apparently just doesn't want to play nicely. We're going to get back to getting this trial banner going, and if the stream decides not to cooperate, then we'll just call it an early night. Okay, so I was working on a trial banner, trying to get the right style for it. I think I'm fretting too much over the details for now. I think we just want to get to some kind of style that is appropriate or close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use white text, which I should be able to. Sorry, I even rebooted my machine. I rebooted all the network stuff, so hopefully everything is going okay after this. If not, it is what it is. I can't control it. Okay. So let's refresh this page. That doesn't look white. That's not right. Something. What's going on? Text white. Did I not actually end up saving this file? No way. No way that's right. It's like a gray. Is it not? My eyes. Oh, I have flux back on. Maybe that's it. Okay, it's white. All right, so I don't really want it to feel like it's floating, so I think I'm going to get rid of the shadow. The flash messages, I want them to feel a little floaty because they're ephemeral, but the banner I want to be present. And then I've already messed with the border some. Let's get it one. This might be too subtle. Yeah, too subtle. So let's leave it as 2 steps apart from each other, which I think I do often on a bunch of my other buttons and things, is to have one base color and then shift it by a couple hundred in Tailwind terms. And it tends to look decent. So we've got our button here, or our banner, and it contains the text of what we're going to show. Now what I want to do that's different, I want to go back to that index page. And the messaging on that text needs to change based on the status. So what I would like to do is we got this basic text working in this list item here. It shouldn't even need to be a list item. So I think I'm just copying from the existing stuff. And I'm realizing I can't actually see the status of my network over here. I made it too small. And it's complaining of being lower, but not a lot I can do. What the heck? So the resize things are triggering Streamlabs to move stuff around. What a mess. What a mess. Okay. Yikes. All right. I want to have the same text we were using over here. I want to carry that over. And I also have no real reason to replicate this unordered list stuff. So we could probably just change these to divs. They're not going to be multiple of these. So let's try that and see if it comes out the same. Check the content over here. All right, looks the same. That feels better than, because it's sort of a weird thing to say that you're going to have a different list. And let's go ahead and bring in all of this stuff to conditionally show these different states. Now, we also don't want to show this banner at all if you're already an active user. So we need to bring in, in fact, let's just move this if statement to here. So this is if you're trialing or if you're expired, then show the banner. And then we're going to have conditional of what that text is going to be, and then a button. Button is not going to make sense, or not going to really show up well yet. And we've got these weird paragraphs that we don't need, so let's like get rid of the paragraph stuff. So that should look okay. We've got our button in here, the same as this button. We need to fix that up. And while I'm still thinking about it, let's get these tags cleaned up. So we've got all of this embedded in a div, which is fine. But I think we might want to actually do this number where we put a div around whichever message is going to appear. And this will give us a place to have the button and a place to have the messaging and have them be separate things. This should work out style-wise okay in a moment. Let's check it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And then we'll play with where this activate your account button is going. It doesn't look right now. Probably, well, what do I want to do with that? Do I want to center it? Or do something else? First thing let's make sure we can see it. So the border was 600, but I'm afraid that at a high volume it's gonna like be too bright. I don't know, maybe that's not bad. Let's see, what is the 700? What does the in-between look like? Yeah, that you can't tell. The alternative here is we switch to our yellow. We've got background yellow 200. Let's try that. See if it's like just destroys our eyes with that change. Certainly the text color will be wrong if we try this. Isn't that funny? Or I don't know about you, but this yellow looks like warm or kind of warm to me. And it's the same yellow, and yet my eyes like anchor it in such a way that it looks like faded. Doesn't look good. I don't know, that's so weird how the brain does that kind of stuff. Let's try 300. The yellow buttons I think are hard. Yellow buttons lead to this problem of what do you do with the text? Like we could go lime 900 and go almost black, and maybe that's okay. But it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't have the right feel to me. So let's first give it the appropriate amount of spacing. So we've got some div here. Let's add a class to give cutting. So not really sure. See if it pairs with the yellow that's there. That just looks brown. So I don't think that that's going to be what I want. So how about, what are our choices? We can go look at some grays, other colors. Doesn't appear to be. All right, I'm going to do another speed test and see what's going on. See if it's actually just, this is driving me crazy. I can't focus. John, I see your comment there. Putting the message box and status into a header section. Oh, you're just using like a different tag? I don't know. I don't know if that's would Wow, that is just, network is just dead. That's embarrassingly low. Come on, computer, you can do it. And then my upload's crazy high. What? All right, so I don't actually trust. Maybe my results are like all messed up because I'm watching the video picture-in-picture over here and it's taking up bandwidth on a really crappy download rate. That is bizarre. All right. I'm just going to assume for a while that everybody can see this, and I'm going to stop paying attention to this because it's too distracting. Okay. Using a header, that's not a bad idea as a header tag. Another thought that I had is like, well, and this is actually not, I think, what you intended, John, but the other thought that just ran through my mind is I'm trying to fit this into like a banner in the sense of it's a different color on the top. But what if instead I flipped it around where it was just a header, like not a header in the sense of a header tag, but like an H1 or something to get your attention along with the message, and maybe a subtle border around it, and stop messing with this like dark green stuff and continue to use the primary color button for the activate. Yeah, that is something. Let's try that for a little bit, because directionally I don't like where this is going. Doesn't feel right. Just feels kind of cheesy. I don't know how to describe it. So let's try another option, and that's some of the, I don't know, building SaaS. Sometimes you play with stuff. There's not necessarily a right way to do everything. I do want to stick. Let's at least take work from the divs that we have as just sort of the general blocking of this. And if we like it, we can come back in and drop it in there later. So let's see, we should have 2 of these. If we go back over here, we do. So, and what if we used this like language here, your account is currently trialing, as the header text, you know? Instead of saying, you know, 2 sentences, because we've got 2 things we could say. We could say your trial has expired as one header text, and this one as another. So I kind of like that thought. Let's do maybe not an H2. Well, we could do maybe not an H1, but I don't think there's anything stopping us from doing an H1, and say your account is currently trialing, and then end the H1 if I could type. Okay, so then we can put a paragraph here and end the paragraph. So now we've got 2 paragraphs, or 2 separating things. And what if we drop all this other stuff? Let's make it, I want to have like good, clear, crisp text. And we want to, the Flexbox stuff here is helping us with the mobile sizing. So that feels appropriate to keep. But this box, I think we might be able to delete entirely. Let's try that, see what happens. Wasn't quite what I anticipated, but oh, because that's a flex box and with a flex row. All right, so we need it for reasons I wasn't anticipating. Let's delete to the everything there. Okay, and then we can come back and clean up. Like this is not the best structure, but it gives us something better. And then I think now that we've done that, I'm gonna reuse the button style from the other and just ditch the whole yellow and brown button business because that's definitely not what I want. So we've got the activate your account, and let's do some text size stuff. Text XL, start there for the H1. Although I bet we have some about page or something. H1 we use text XL. Okay, good. Consistent logically apparently. And we want to have some amount of margin on it. So I think I saw margin 4 there a second ago. Yeah, I'm already liking this more. And we can bring it out in subtle ways. So I'm not using the green, but what we could try is now maybe like a light gray. That the way they did it? Is that the spelling of gray? Okay, that's a little too cool. Let's continue playing with stuff. The other aspect I remember from some of my design courses is we don't necessarily need to use just black text. Use pink, John. That's a interesting suggestion. But we want something to help it pop visually, and this is a very easy way to use some grayscale to help separate stuff, and kind of stay classy in the process. There is like weird spacing above and below, so I think I want to switch this to be a bottom margin. So let's try. I think it's because it's got the and well, maybe there's something that needs to be there. Because right now this is very uniform of there's a 4 and a 4 and a 4 and a 4 for separating each one of these. That doesn't necessarily feel right. Also, let's play with the gray and see if a lighter gray is too light. Yeah, it still feels kind of dull. So now that we've got this text, what if we switch to changing the text color to like text lime 800? That would be the same green color that we use as the background, and then would add some visual tie. Unfortunately, it's too light on that gray. So one thing that we can do, we could have them be different colors. There's nothing saying that these have to be the same. It also doesn't have to be the green. We could play with maybe the header stays that, and then we do the green, or the actual paragraph tag goes back to black, or maybe even a dark gray. So try text black first, just to see how that looks. So that's starting to get interesting. There's some like visual stuff tied. The green family, the lime family is together. That's nice. The spacing still feels weird. I don't know that I want to go smaller, although I could. If doing that would bring the text to a single line, I bet. Let's just see what it looks like. So it's probably on text medium. What if we did text small? Now it looks, no. It also forces the width, which I appreciate. Okay. And how can we add a little flair to this? I'm sorry, I'm jumping back and forth a lot. I'm trying to like think and then go over and write some code. Could we add maybe to the box? So to this box, what if we did border bottom 2? Is that what it is? Is that how you do it? And then border lime 900. Is that the syntax? Hey, look at that. Too dark, but just trying to underscore that this is a different thing. And just playing with it. No, that's too bright. So the other thing that happens is that the gray kind of blends stuff and gives you a little bit more freedom on what colors you can use. So we don't have to be tied to something darker. We don't have to be tied to something lighter. I also want to play with the font size on this and see if we can take advantage of more space, and then also play with the spacing around it, leading. Well, not the leading. That's the line height. Kerning? No, that's between letters. What's the other word that I'm looking for? Easing? No, that's something. That's animation. Oh goodness. My line clamp letter spacing. Tracking. I knew it was one of those words. So if we do tracking that's wider, it'll make the font on that header expand, which sometimes is an interesting look. Tracking wide. Sometimes it just like spaces out too weird, but so this tracking stuff often gets used with like more like block lettering. I'm not sure that is it catching the eye in the way that I want it to. We can probably see it in the extreme. Let's try wider. Yeah, that's too wide. Tracking wide is probably about as much as I'd want to do. Is there like an uppercase too? It's a text transform. Do we want to do that? Uppercase? How does that look? Uppercase. Oops, wrong one. No, definitely not. I don't need to yell at somebody. Or it looks like yelling at them. But with the switching to the wider tracking, sometimes that the thickness of the boldness is something that I've seen change. So we could look at font weight. I think that's the one we want. Oh, there's a bunch of things in here now. What is line clamp? Truncates. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. That's how you ellipsize certain text. Cool. Not what we need, but cool nonetheless. Okay, so font weight, and then we'll do, let's try font light. I don't know. Font light. Yeah, that looks. So now we've stretched it out, but we've taken some of the weight out of the font, which kind of, it adds more of I don't know, elegance to it. Is that the right word? Okay. The other thing I want to do is play perhaps with the text black. And instead, this is the classic designer move, is to take it from a black and to a more gray space. And this is where designers get in trouble with accessibility, but it happens all the time. So if we do gray, 700. And I try to remember the theory behind that is like, oh, I remember it now. Took some design courses on this. And the point made in the design courses was even when you have black things in your life, they are often not black. Like, I mean, I'm looking at my microphone here, and this is actually, I really am thoughtful about it. The light shining off of it, and so it's like a dark gray, even though it's technically black. And so the design world out there says, hey, take advantage of that knowledge, and if you want something to feel more human, that don't use like black, because it feels out of place. Our brains are very in tune to that. And so you can make something feel a little bit more organic by taking off some of that dark, high contrast edge. So there's a challenge. There's like a fine line to walk between, having it be jet black for accessibility, but having it also feel warm. So this feels too faded to me at the 700 level. Let's try the 800. And it's very subtle, like you barely notice it, but it is there. So that's the gray. Let's check the, yeah, I guess the high contrast could be a strain, Depeche, you might be right there. I've not done like the brain science stuff of what's good for your brain, for your eyes or not. So we've got slate, and the problem with looking at the text colors is you can't see what color is it, like a warm gray or a cool gray. I think I think slate is a cool gray, but it's easier to see on background color, or I found it easier to see. Let's switch over to background color. So we've got slate here. If anything, it feels like cool to neutral. Gray is definitely neutral. Zinc is on the warmer side. I think they've got one called neutral. Stone is definitely on the warmer side. So what if we tried, again, I'm going for like a walk through the woods kind of theme. So if I want to use some grays, let's play with some grays here. Let's try stones instead of grays. We've got gray 100, but what if we tried stone 100? How's that going to feel? So it's pretty neutral right now, maybe even cool. And oh, yeah, I really like that change. It almost like it subtly brings out like a brown tone in my mind, just on that very slight difference there. So let's change this gray 800 to stone 800 as well. That one was less noticeable to me. Again, it's harder to see on the text. But if I am now switching to the stone 100, I think, again, you want to be kind of in the same family of colors. So wouldn't want to have stone and gray. So I think let's lean towards stone. Okay, so now, Silent Wolf, am I worried about color? To answer, no, I think, and good question. I appreciate the question. I think the functionality of this app, like I haven't really described on the stream, but the functionality is there. The core app, the experience that I've been using for literally years with a different service, it's pretty much there. Which, and if you've never joined in the stream before, this journal works by sending you emails. Sends you an email prompt every day, and you respond to the prompt, and in the response email that gets sent out, Journey Inbox then parses that and adds that to your journal. So when you send out new prompts in the future, or when the system sends out new prompts in the future, what happens is it reads a random entry and puts that in the prompt, so you get reminded of what you've written about in the past. All of that stuff works. So the app, the core functionality of the app is there, and really at this point, what I'm truly looking for is giving people a pleasing on-ramp to get them in and using the app or having a good experience once they're in the trial period, knowing that they don't need to be on this website much. So I want the app to be like delightful in its simplicity, an elegance there, and feel a certain warmth to it. And then there will be functionality that we're going to build. Like, I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but it is less of a priority right now than having a really solid onboarding experience. That's kind of some of the issues that we're actually working through, which I don't have up right now, are all around that. So thank you for the question, though. I appreciate the thought there and the nudge of like, hey, are you sure you're working on the right thing? It's a good thing to remember. Okay, so let's. I'm feeling pretty good about the style of this. So we need to replicate this for this section down here. So let's take these two items and pull them down, but we have to remember to change the text. So let's change it to your trial has expired. We could test this, but I'm confident that this is just it's a copy change and that the style will look fine. And then we do, yeah, silent. Well, there's no master plan here too, so it's like maybe you're right. Maybe I'm making the wrong choice. This is just the choice that I'm choosing, is the path I'm going down. So each one has their pros and cons. Okay, so to continue using Journey Inbox, please. I was looking at if it's the same copy as the above paragraph, but it's subtly different. Please activate your account. Okay. So now we've got the state for when your trial is expired. So there's the way the service works is you get like a 2-week free trial. So we do need different messaging, but we still want, if somebody is like using the service and they come back in and I don't give them any way to activate after their trial expired, that would kind of stink. So that's why we have different kind of messaging here, but they still have the same activate button ultimately. And here's our activate button. All right, I feel good about this. I certainly feel better about this than this business up here. This, like, I mean, it's like for my mind, that's pretty night and day of which one's better. So let's ditch all of, not quite all of it, but everything that's in here, and then take all of the content that we just made and put it inside this if statement, because we only want to show this banner on trialing and trial expired. Oh, that's an interesting idea, John. A red borderline for when it's expired. I don't know. Is that good or bad? Do we want to me, there's something that says something slightly that says, I'm going to beat you up about this. Like, you didn't do it. I think the fact that it will say expired feels like, maybe there's a copy change here that we could add. So far we've said to continue using Journey Inbox. No, that's sufficient. So I'm going to file that one away in the back of my head, John, but I'm going to keep it kind of not having a bunch of conditional logic right now and keep it as is. So if we refresh this, now we've got this, and then we can get rid of our little test flash message that we were staring at, and knowing that it's going to say something like, you know, you've just signed in as matt@testing.com or whatever it says, and that will go away. So if we do this, now when you're in this mode, this is the thing that you see on the page. This is the thing that you see on the settings page. It's the thing that you see on the about page, the privacy page, all of that stuff. So cool, it's persistent everywhere, but it doesn't work right now. We've got to fix that part. And we have to get rid of the button as it exists on the index page. So we don't want this part anymore. We are done with everything over here. So that's going to clean up this. The index page will have way more in the future. Right now it's just got this message of, hey, thanks for using the product. There's There's a lot more to come, but it's not there yet. Okay. So the other bit that we need here is I think what I want to do. All right, so there's something non-optimal about what I'm about to do. So we only included this content on, boogers. There's another problem that we're going to run into. Shoot. I don't know if you can see it. Let me know. I see it right away, but it may not be obvious to everybody. So we've got our base template here, and we've got a scripts block. And it's actually the only area that's using the scripts block. But I want to be able to kind of have the banner and the activate button. Well, do I care? Yeah, I think I do. Here, this was okay in that the button was in this content section, and then the JavaScript that used the button was in this other section. And I'm also noticing, oh man, there's just, I'm seeing layers and layers to this now that I wasn't seeing before. It's okay, we're gonna get there. So I think what I want to do is put the JavaScript kind of with the banner, and that's not optimal because it puts a script tag kind of in the middle of an HTML page, which would cause it to load that and parse it. So generally you want to put that stuff late. So do I want to put this just in the footer and have them be separate? Maybe that's okay. So let's try that for now. And then if I want to change this in the future, I'll think about a difference here. So let's take all of this code and put it right here after the script stuff. So if a page has script stuff, although this might have been the only page that was using it, it would show up here. But then we will conditionally include this extra JavaScript around related to Stripe if the user's account was, you'd put it at the end of the body. In more modern context, you can keep it in the head section and add the deferred element. I believe that's how that works. So I think we're accomplishing roughly the same goal. Maybe there's some little nuance in there that I'm not capturing. We can get rid of the scripts thing now, and now our homepage has got essentially nothing in it for the moment. But this page has some problems. Yeah. The problem I hinted at a moment ago, asking did you see it, is that around this attribute access here. Well, let's see if we can make it crash. If I log out, will it crash? No. Did something even weirder. Nah, that's not what I expected at all. So we've got this status or this status. I don't know how that worked at all because okay, I get that. Jeez. Ugh. So here's what I think is happening. The thing that I was hoping or somebody might notice is that when you're unauthenticated, there is no account. So an anonymous user is not going to have an account one-to-one field attached to it. The funny part is the reason that this is showing up still in this state, it's showing both of them. That's an interesting thing there, is that user.account.status, as soon as you get to the .account, Django's trying to be nice and saying like that doesn't exist, and rather than blow up in your face, it's just saying it's returning none. But the same thing is true as this on this side. So it's user.account.status.trial expired. this first access also doesn't exist, so it's returning none. So the if statement is effectively that we're resolving to is none equal to none, and the answer is true. So that's why this is showing up here. So what hard on this whole condition and say user is authenticated and user in this state or that state. Now I don't remember, does Django let us use parentheses here? Because that'll be important, because let's see. Nope, can't use parentheses. All right. Okay, so instead of doing it there, and this might be one of the things where I'm being paranoid and order of operations will actually save me here, or like what precedent will bind to. Because if you're not, let's see, if your user is authenticated, no, I think this should be fine. Because and is a short circuit operator, right? So if this revaluates to false, it's not going to continue on to any of the rest of this. It'll just stop. I think that's what we want. That is not right. If user is authenticated. Did I spell it wrong? We're definitely not authenticated. Boo. All right, let's bring up the debug toolbar. See what's going on in the template. Toggle the context. The user should be in here. There's the user. It's an anonymous user. An anonymous user should be user authenticated is false, which should cause this not to appear. So maybe Django templates don't short circuit the and? That sounds wrong. If, let's just separate it just to make sure. Let's see if that does. Okay. Just for a moment to see if maybe I just spelled it wrong. User is authenticated. And wow. Is that right? That's so strange. Okay. We're just probably something in the template syntax that tells you the behavior of those templates. But it sure seems like it's not short-circuiting. But let's just do that. So now we've got this. We've got the sign up thing, we've got the login, everything else. You know, there's no prompt because you're not on those pages. So let's log in. Let's do matt@testing.com and create course. Oh good, we get to see what it looks like when you get the prompt too. So you see this, you get this message. Okay, the other thing that we need here is we have to replicate this user is authenticated check at the bottom because we don't want to be including this JavaScript when it's an anonymous person and they don't need to see Stripe stuff. Okay. Now, there is another problem here that I think is going to force us to refactor this to a template tag. And that problem is well, there's a couple of spots, I should say. There's a problem here with the price. There's a problem with the payments publishable key. CSRF tokens, okay, that's something that Django can resolve. And then the rest of this is fine, because this create checkout session, that'll create a valid URL, but it's really these two things. So if we, okay, so my assertion is this works fine. Like if we go here and view the page source for the index page, we see somewhere, where'd it go? Should be right here, right? What the heck? I would expect the banner to be right here, but it's not showing. Is page source not authenticated? What? That's weird. All right, let's inspect it instead. So we've got down in the footer area, we've got the Stripe is included, and we've got our script section, which they've condensed into a bunch of stuff. None of this is sensitive because it's just test data. But you can see that we've got a price ID and a publishable key. Okay, it's important. I don't know why they make this hard to see. It's very strange. So now let's go to the settings page and check out the same script section. Notice what's missing. The price is gone. Publishable key is gone. And the reason for that is that we go to the core views. We added this directly right here. So our problem is that all these other pages that are now going to use this trial banner that is like moving from page to page is no longer there. In fact, this actually gets me back to a belief that what we're going to ultimately do is put the script tags together with the banner. Like it's almost like it's unavoidable. Hopefully it doesn't block that much from a performance perspective. Maybe we can add deferred on something. Oh, can you do a deferred on a script? Oh, I don't know. We'll get there. So I have a few options. One of them is not great, and one of them is, I've already mentioned, I think, the path that we're going to go down. One option is under the settings, you can look at, there are these context processors. This is one path we could do. What a context processor does is it has the opportunity to add to the context for every request. So this is the most heavy-handed way to add data to a template context. And there will be tons of situations where we don't want to do this. So this is pretty much pure performance penalty for the vast majority of cases. But don't want to do it here. But I'm just letting you know that this is an option. So if you need to include kind of some piece of data globally that you will always need, context processor is an option. And the other option is I could limit where the banner, the trial banner is showing up to certain views, and then put this kind of context information on each of those views. Also messy. Instead, I think what I want to do is make a custom template tag. The template tag will give me the opportunity to add whatever context I need to at that time, and kind of selectively render the bit in there and have it go collect its own stuff. So this code that's right here of the payments gateway and the price will be pulled into a template tag specific button, or that's not the right term, a tag, excuse me, an inclusion tag that will make sure that we automatically always have the price ID and the payments publishable key associated with this code. Okay, so we're on the right path. What I want to do before moving on, though, is make sure that we've kind of captured this. We've got the style. I don't want to screw this up. So we're going to add this to the get stage right now as kind of a checkpoint. I know that we're not actually committing anything, and that's fine. And we probably have broken some tests somewhere along the way. No, we haven't. This is all HTML, and I'm not testing the HTML. So after we're done with this too, there's an aspect of we will have to go do this testing again, unfortunately, with like actual Stripe testing to make sure that stuff is working as we would expect. Most of it is thankfully wrapped up inside of the payments gateway. There's not a lot that I'm truly worried about. We're really just getting the price and we're getting the publishable key. So it's pretty safe to do this extraction, but still, it's something we have to deal with. Okay, so let's talk about building a custom template tag and putting in, like, by the time we're all done, we're gonna go right here and we're gonna be like trial banner or something like that. In fact, that's probably the name I want to use, trial banner. I can't remember all the details, and it's good to have a reference with us. So let's go to the Django project documentation. We're going to look up template tags, and we're going to look at the kind of tag we want to make. We're not making a very complicated tag. There are different kinds of template tags you can make. This might even constitute, I don't know if this is a simple tag or an inclusion tag. It's probably an inclusion tag. There are really advanced template tags that are possible, but we don't need those. So the structure is important, and that's the first thing we'll start with. So notice that there's a directory called template tags, and then they have a module inside of it. They make it a package. So we got to do some of this. This is all related to accounts. So I think I'm going to put this template tag in the accounts section. So let's go do that. Let's not put it in core. We're going to go into journal, into accounts. We already have, there's already a template tag section. Great. I forgot this existed. Yeah. Cool. We did this. We had a simple tag for available trial slots that we did on the sign up page. We already have an example of using template tags, so I don't have to show you the setup for this. You can go look at the journal code online. It's at github/mblayman/journal. Where this repo is. And what we want to do instead is not a simple tag. Like I said, you can see how this manifests. So it's right here. So the simple tag works by like having kind of just an expression that will show up in your output. That's we want to be able to render something, so I think we need an inclusion tag, if I recall. Let's just scan through this and see if we have that right. Because we also need to be able to ask for context, because we need to have the user. I don't think simple tag is going to be the right one. You can also make custom filters, which we aren't going to do. So that's one option. So there's the filter aspect. Let's keep scrolling through. Simple tag. I don't know, maybe it can be a simple tag. Simple tag, we need some rendering. We need to, okay. Wraps it in a render function. So maybe that's not us, because I think we want to render ourselves. Let's keep scanning. See if the inclusion tag is the right one. Okay, yeah, totally. This is totally it. Another common type of template tag is the type that displays some data by rendering another template. Cool. So this is an inclusion tag. So we have to tell it where the template is. And that might be it. And then we will probably need this so that we need it to pass along the user. So when we say takes context, we want to, well, actually, is that right? Hold on. That might just be injecting context into this so you can access it. I'm just reading this paragraph, sorry. Should read out loud. Sometimes your inclusion tags might require a large number of arguments. I don't think that's really our case here, making it a pain for template authors to pass in all the arguments and remember their order. To solve this, Django provides a takes context option for inclusion tags. If you specify takes context in creating a template tag, the tag will have no required arguments. Ah, okay, so I think we do need that. And the underlying Python function will have one argument, template context, as of when the tag was called. Okay. And then we probably want to pass along the context or insert our own. Okay. I think this is the right direction. Let's march forward. So the first thing to do, register inclusion tag. And I want to say this is going to be in accounts trial banner. That's where we're going to put this. For the moment, well, actually, let's go ahead and do this. Takes context is true. I think that it says a Boolean, right? Yep. And then we want to actually create the thing, trial banner. And do context. And I think the thing I want to return is, for the moment anyway, the context. Okay, so just this much alone. We should be able to come over to the base area and say load accounts tags. That's the name of this template tag, custom template tag. And if you don't do that, it doesn't make the tag available. And then we should be able to do right here, trial banner. Like, I guess I should issue a caution. Template tags seem like, oh, this is so cool. I can just put data wherever I want. I've worked on a project that made very heavy use of template tags. And template tags come with a cost of not necessarily knowing where your database queries are coming from. And that query cost can also be delayed in evaluation until pretty late in the process because this is not getting evaluated until this particular tag is called. So that there can be query counts. Like if you have any of these tags in a loop and you're doing querying on some data, you're going to run into n+1 query bugs and a lot of that stuff. So template tags are a useful tool, but use them sparingly. This I feel like this is the kind of a perfect scenario for a template tag of there's this like piece of global data that we want to pull in and render here consistently through a number of different contexts, and we need access to that data. So it feels like the right case for this, but we don't want to do this kind of thing all the time. These are not like, I mean, if you come from more of a JavaScripty world, these are not meant to be like React components or something where you would nest these things together. I think there are some libraries in Django that are trying to do more of a component style, if that's your thing, but this isn't it. Okay, let's try and refresh, and presumably this will blow up in our face because that template doesn't exist. Yep. So we've got templates, trial banner does not exist. So now let's go into the accounts area and create one called trial banner HTML, and we're going to say hello world. We just want to see, do we get it at all? All right, cool. We do get it, and I'm trying to remember if this shows up in the toolbar. Yeah, you can now see as part of the rendering process, it started at the settings template, it got to the base, and hit the tag, and it shows you what context is in the tag. And currently at the moment, it was just false, none, and true. That's surprising. I thought that user would be in there. Because look at the base one. The base includes all this stuff. What's going on? So this we might have to pay extra careful attention to takes context, make sure that it is doing what we expect. Okay. I think the easiest way we can verify this is we could try username. We should see was the username. We should see something here since we're authenticated. Okay, so it's there. I don't know. Maybe this is a Django debug toolbar issue. Like that's not right. There's more context in there. It's not telling the truth. So that seems like a debug toolbar bug. I was getting a little worried there that we weren't actually going to have the data that we needed. So here is where we're going to put that code of the payments gateway and stuff. That's where we can bring this up. So let's take payments gateway and bring that import into here. Now, we can now take okay. So really, I'm just copying this for a moment because it's easy. Then we can get rid of this. And notice that we've called this context, but we also created this local variable called context. So I think what I want to do, well, this let's get fancy. Let's change this to return context pipe this. So I think this is like a newer syntax. That's what's going to happen is it's going to take the context and essentially this is acts like an update. So another way to do this is you could make this dictionary be, you could do dot update, which would update this context dictionary with these key values. Okay, but the newer, fancier, shorter syntax way to do that is with the actual pipe character, which should do the same thing. Okay, so now that we've got that, since debug toolbar is not really helping us here, I want to see, let's change this to, let's see if we have the data inside of here, and we can do price ID. That should be available to this context in this template. Ooh, boo. Oh, okay. So I was trying to be clever and combining a request context class and a dictionary, and apparently it doesn't like that. Those thinks of them as incompatible types. So it's not truly a dictionary that we're getting here. It's some other data type. So maybe we do need to do the update. Oh, that would have been fun. But so with any luck, it's like a dictionary subclass, and that this actually works. Weird if it doesn't. Okay, that worked. So you can see we've got the price now. So we're really close. What this is now showing us is that if we bring that JavaScript code into this tag and also the actual banner itself, then all of that information should be present. And then we'll be able to eliminate this from the index view and then just have this everywhere we need it. And that should work okay. It does have that consequence where there will be some blocking on that script include, and I'm hopeful that performance will not be a big problem. Okay, so let's bring the base back up. We've got our trial banner. It's already in place, and here's where we can just delete this stuff, and with any luck, just take everything that's here, completely delete it, and place it here, and then outdent it that way. So it also kind of cleans us up a little bit. So let's start with that. I know we haven't brought the JavaScript in yet. Oh no, where'd it go? Well, that's not good. Now I'm confused. We just saw. Okay. User.username, right? Is the user. And the user is authenticated. Whoa, what happened? We just had this context. I'm annoyed. Text? Something is funky here. What? We've got, is it called twice? Okay, so there's one scenario here. Where what in the world? This is interesting to me. Like, why is this coming out multiple times? Because I'm only printing this. Let's print the type of context and print context above. I don't know. Something is weird about this logging to me. Okay, so oh, look, this whole thing, like, request context is not what I think it is. I thought it was a dictionary subclass. But it seems that I'm wrong. Let's go investigate. Yeah, I see that silent wolf. I agree. Looks like some kind of list, right? Because we have this line, and then it just keeps going. So it's like the repr here, but then there's like there's a comma here, so it does seem like a list, right? Like it's got one dictionary here, it's got another dictionary with all this stuff, that's got a third dictionary that has nothing in it, and then it has a fourth dictionary with this stuff in it. So what is it? Okay, so we know the class is at template context. Template context. Well, that's not what I thought it would be. Oh, this is different. That's a context dict. There is a request context. It's based on this base context. What the heck? All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop being clever. I'm going to... What am I going to do? What was it when it was just... when we weren't doing this update thing? I don't know how update worked, if this was update. Push other dict to the stack. It's a stack of dictionaries. What? Why are they doing that? A stack container. Y'all. All right, let's read the doc string because I'm clearly missing something. Render context simplifies the implementation of template nodes by providing a safe place to store state between invocations of a node's render method. The render context also provides scoping rules that are more sensible for template local variables. The render context stack is pushed before each template is rendered, creating a fresh scope with nothing in it. Name resolution fails if a variable is not found at the top of the render context stack. Thus, variables are local to a specific template and don't affect the rendering of other templates as they would if they were... All right, so I'm reading this as like we need to pull out user ourselves in this because it's being strange. Which, okay, fine. Not what I was hoping for, but acceptable. So let's just do it. Let's get rid of this stuff. So context user should exist because we've said, give me the context. But it could be an anonymous user, but that's okay. It should still be there always because of the context processor. So let's drop that stuff, drop that. Then we've got this, and then we can put in user context user. Okay. Price ID was the price, and then user dot username was the user. Let's see if this works the way we expect. All right. Seems to be back to what I would hope. You can tell I don't make inclusion tags often. These are probably details that anybody who does this regularly would remember, but I don't recommend doing this regularly, so it's what we need. And I suppose another way we could do this is we could drop the takes context and then make it expect a user as a required argument. That seems silly though. I don't want to do that. Okay, so now we can clear this stuff out. Now we should be able to take everything here. And for the moment, I'm going to just yank it this time. And make sure that we get 2 of these. Okay, got 2 of them. So that's good. So now we can finally delete this with confidence that it's going to be okay. We've got our trial banner. And just for sanity check, let's bring this up in a private tab, which of course they're putting way over here. Not useful. And then go, and this is just a quick way to see the unauthenticated view. And you can see it doesn't show up in here and it's not blowing up. So we know that the trial banner thing is trying to render, and it's just being ignored. So because it hits inside of here and then says, nope, that's enough. All right, cool. So now I think we're finally at a point where we can pull in the JavaScript. So we come down here, and this whole thing is inside a user is authenticated block. So I don't need to replicate this outer one. So let's take all of this stuff and drop it here. In fact, remember this is another one that's, okay, we got extra endif, or an extra needless tag here. Because this is only going to be, this whole banner thing is only going to show when it's in one of these 2 states. Okay, so now we've got, the way this is now flowing is that we've got, it's only going to show if it's authenticated. It's only going to show if it's one of these 2 statuses. It's got the banner itself, which is here. Does that line up where I want it to? Yep. And then it's putting the JavaScript right next to it. That's the only downside of this approach, because that script evaluation is going to be forced right away as the HTML is trying to load, which is a bummer. Which maybe we can try and correct if it's a real problem with deferred stuff. We'll see. Okay. So now we've refreshed the page, and let's now do an inspect on stuff. We're on the index page, so I expect that the script stuff will be there, and it will have the price and publishable key. That's good. So they're now bundled together, which is a good thing. Let's go to the settings page. Coming down here, we get to the inspect. We'll go down to our script tag stuff. We've got the price, and we've got the publishable key. So regardless of where we are, we've cleaned that up. All right, cool. So at this stage, we have the tag. We haven't tested it, so we're now. There's a couple things I want to do before we wrap up this. This took way longer than I anticipated. Not to mention there was some like bad network stuff today, so that was annoying. We need to write some unit tests for this. We need to prove that this works. Thankfully, these unit tests are going to be. We can call this as a function, I think, and it will just do the thing. I don't think we have to actually check any rendering here. We can just check, are you returning this data that I expect? So that should be an easy test. The other thing that's likely to break is now the index page no longer needs the payments gateway, and it no longer needs these 2 attributes because they're going to be handled by the inclusion tag. So that cleans up that. In fact, we can drop the comma and go to a single line context dictionary. On top of that, we cleaned out the use of the payments gateway in the core views, which is a kind of a nice side effect. Okay, so I recognize that it's kind of hard to see what's going on too. So we've got our inclusion tag template. I think we're ready to go with that. So after we do the unit testing and getting back to a state where the unit tests all work, then we do have to go and make sure that the account activation flow still works, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just a side effect of moving this, and there aren't great tests around directly checking Stripe. Okay. So let's get out of here. Let's run the test suite and just see how bad the damage is. I expect there should be at least one failure. Okay, there's a handful. Oh, rats. Yeah, that's big. That's a big bummer. So we have, now I think there's something about this that's not truthful, but I think we're gonna have to use an auto. Oh man, that's a big pain. Trying to think through this. The problem is we're changing the base template, and then we're calling render, and there is an aspect of this where we were using factory data to create a price. This is a price object. This is not just some string or something. It's an actual object that gets put in the database. And what we're doing, like let's go over to the core test views and you can see how this manifests, is we've got this publishable, this price fixture here. And then we were inserting the price fixture into the index class tests. So now any place that's using the price, which could be a lot of views, in fact, because it's in the base, it could be every view. It will be every view that has an authenticated user, I think, will ultimately hit this code. I wonder if there's the clever way we can get out of this. Yes, there is. There is some, well, it's not going to be a perfect fix, but it will get some of these out. So if we take the user out of the context, user, put it in a local variable. We know that we only need this when it's an authenticated user. So if not user is authenticated, then we can return an empty dictionary because we don't have to do further work. And that's going to eliminate the evaluation here. So that's a good shortcut thing. We're still going to face this problem where any test that we have that calls render with an authenticated user that is trialing or a trial expired is still going to run in this case. So we could filter even a little bit more to make sure that the user is in the right status, but this hopefully will eliminate a couple of these failures. So there were 6 failures. Let's see what happens now. Okay, 2 failures. And they are for the cases that I thought would happen. There are authenticated views. All right, what is our, I'm really trying to avoid having to create a price or an API. This is actually the API key, but the same thing is going to happen with the price. Both pieces of data would be needed for basically all these views. But I think we have the user factory or the, let's see, account factory. you can see here, oh, junk. So we're working with an account, and our factory, let's just go to the file. We've got the account model that we're basing it off of. And we're saying make a user if you don't have one. That's fine. The problem is if we go to the account models and look at the account, we're going to see that the status starts out in the trialing status. So we could get around this and assume that we're working with active users all the time, but that might break some other tests. And the benefit of that is because what happens is like we're going to have many times where we're going to want to do user factory like that, where with no arguments, or account factory with no arguments. And in either one of those cases, because of the reciprocal relationship of the one-to-one field, it's going to call on the account factory, and then it's going to rely on the default that is defined in the model. So most of the time where our account instances are going to be in the trialing state because of this trialing default. If instead, though, we change the status of the account to be status equal to, well, at this point we'd have to bring in the account model. It's probably fine. Let's just try it, just see what happens. Journal, accounts, models, import account. And then we want to do account.status.active. So that's going to say the default behavior is not going to be in trialing for all of our test data. It's going to be in the active state instead. And the impact of that is that the rendering now, it's still not going to solve this problem. We would get closer though. Yeah, we would get closer. Because what we could do is we could add, the last thing we could add is that if not user, what would he have to do to shortcut this? Or user.account.status is not in, user account status trialing, or user account status trial expired. Then you return. Is that right? Is that logic right? If you're not authenticated, you're going to return that. Or you're not one of the two states that we care about, trialing or trial expired. You're going to return early. And that way you're going to avoid the payments gateway stuff. So if we did this, it might pass these authenticated tests. But the problem is I might have other tests that are relying on the default state being in trialing. So I might have broken other tests in the process. Let's see how I did. Yeah, so now we have, whoops. Type error argument of type status is not iterable. All right, I broke some stuff. Count. Wait a minute. Doesn't have to be iterable. Oh. Okay. I didn't make that a set like I thought. Yeah, so I think these tests are still failing because we're probably explicitly set to trialing, and that data isn't there. Maybe. Let's take a look. So test success, test authenticated. Oh, did I save something here? Ugh. Oh, okay. Accounts, test views, test success, test authenticated. Why is this one failing? API key. Why are you going down there? Doesn't seem right. It's going into the publishable key path. So the user factory. Not what I expected. Okay, let's see what's going on. This shouldn't be... Cert user account status is equal to user account status active. Huh. So it's still setting into trialing. Why is that? I wonder if it's the fact that there's no... Maybe I need to have the reverse relationship. If I come down here and say count, this one-to-one fields get strange. It's unfortunate. And switch it to account factory. Am I going to create this crazy cycle? I don't know. So what might be happening is because I'm most of the time using a user factory, there's not actually a path that's going to account. So it's going to like a default way to make an account, and it happens to be able to do that, and then is pulling the default status, which should still be trialing. So let's see if that blows up in my face because of weird stuff that I did with the factories. Yep. I think I sent it into some kind of weird loop. Does not like this. Going slowly too, which tells me it's going to be some interesting errors here in a moment. Probably detecting some infinite recursion stuff or looping and is bailing out. Okay, this isn't going to work. Sigh. Man, taking a long time. Yeah, okay. So we hit a recursion death problem because of the factories. So the strategy is not going to work. That's unfortunate. I guess the other thing I could do is try and break the recursion loop here. I think that'll change things, but it might create different sets of problems. Yeah. Oh, what a whack-a-mole game. That's wild. Yep. Okay, now you got integrity problems. Forget it. It's not worth it. So let's not do this. Let's go back to the problem that we had at hand. Keep it simple. Keep it fast too. So these cases where we now have authenticated users that are trialing, or that are in a trialing status, is it maybe it's worth it to just do the simple thing? Because what's going to be true about this universe that we're in is that there's always going to be in my system a publishable key. There will always be a price. These are things that I'm pulling from Stripe and I'm guaranteeing to be there. If that's true, we can choose to slow down the test suite a little bit by creating these tests. Although I guess it's not going to be that slow. Actually, I'm not feeling so bad about this. Let's do this. I don't know why I didn't think of this from the get-go. I'm making a mess. Apologies. Let's clean up. I do still think that it's good to have some of this code. Maybe just the authenticated part. Because this is a database query, and this is a database query. So we can save ourselves 2 database queries by having this guard. I'm okay with that. And it also expresses the when we want the banner. That seems good. Let's clean up this test to get us back to a simpler test state. So now we're back to pretty much just the index change and the templates change. Great. So if I run the suite again, we're going to have a couple of failures related to the API key missing. That's fine. Okay. Time to fix this in the way that I should have from the get-go. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes you gotta work through it and convince yourself it's the right thing to do. It runs. And then there's a module level version of that, and there's a class level version, and then there's like a per test version. So I think what we need here is to make this publishable key and this price be session fixtures. And if we do that, they're only going to run once for the test run and then be available whenever they're needed for any test that requires the publishable key and the price. That feels like the right thing. So let's do that. The trick is we have to put this in the right spot. So we need to go, I think this has to live at the root of all of this, which is crazy. But we already have a conf test. And we already use this. So the conf test is where PyTest puts test-related code that you need for your test setup. And this particular one, we don't need to get into, but it's to set up the database. And this is telling me why we're going to have to do this on every time. Shoot. I remember there being some weirdness here. There's a database setup and teardown, and it has to run between each test. So you can't have this just be a session thing. Well, that's truly unfortunate. All right. So, okay, well, I guess we're going to make it a little slower. Oops. And just deal with it. It's not going to be that much slower. So we're going to go from, right now it's running fairly quickly in like 4 seconds, but still that's kind of slow. I think it's faster than that when the test passed though. In fact, let's see what the true numbers are. Let's look at GitHub Actions. Just grab a random one here and check the tests. Oh, I'm running this in a slower mechanism anyway. So that's running with migrations. So that's why it's going at this speed. 18 seconds. That's way slower. So the coverage run is different. All right. So what? What can we do? we can let's do a git stash on all that stuff. Make fast coverage, although it might blow up because okay. So about 3.5 seconds to run the test suite. Let's run it a couple times just to give us a sense of this. 3.46, 3.47, okay, fine. And then let's see how much we slow things down with this change. So if we go up here and we take the fixtures that we just did, we're going to need these two things from DJ Stripe, and then the price factory and the settings, Django, price factory. Okay. The problem is, well, okay, let's start with this. I think this will be a good starting point. And I'll run that. So this test should still work. I think where we'll land with this is that we'll still have those couple of failures, because the way that we've set up these fixtures right now is they only are used when they're actually like marked as in use. Either whether brought in with this style with use fixtures on the class, or brought in as something like price. You know, that would work too. So we'll still get a couple failures. And so shouldn't be any slower, but it also should still be the same set of failures. Okay, pretty much what I expected. So now the question, the change we want to make is change them from only running when needed to running with every test. And this is where I'm a little sad that we have to do this. I don't know the impact. It's only going to be a couple inserts, but okay. Alrighty. So we got 2 failures, but now we got one of the gateway tests. We've moved the test around, but we've changed the behavior. That was not a meaningful difference in the time. So this is a clear sign that I should have just done this. I was worried about too much about performance and should have just done it from the beginning. Okay, let's go fix the gateway tests and finish this up, because I've been going for quite a while here. So let's see, we need, and I think this also gives us the opportunity to get rid of this. Okay, so run that file. Yeah, all passes. And test the gateway. What fails in here? The test publishable key. Okay, we've got 2 of these things. All right, so this I like that this one's more declarative, but that's okay. Maybe we can do a get or update. Get or create. Is that a method? I thought there was a, okay, get it. Okay. So I think with this, now that we've moved up the API key creation to run with every test, this is redundant, which is why it's blowing up in our face, because we're doing here, it's expecting to be there inside of the implementation. It's expecting for there to be a single publishable key. Instead, it's finding 2 keys that are publishable, and it doesn't like that, which is actually probably an indication of a bug in my code that, you know, in a future state where I might want to move up a different publishable key, that it's not going to transfer gracefully, but I'm okay with that for now. So let's see, we'll leave a comment that says the the publishable key is global conf test data. And then that lets us get rid of this. Okay. Same thing with the price. This is also going to fail. There's two prices. We say the price is global conf test data, and then that lets us get rid of the price factory call. Now that's happy. Now we run the fast coverage check. All right, no noticeable hit in performance, which tells me that we're using SQLite and things are going great. All right, so we're at a state where I think the unit tests are happy. I think the code change is happy. I think the only thing we want to check is, does this still send us to Stripe? So I got to put in my secrets mode for a moment to check on the configuration with Stripe and see what's going on. See if I have Stripe set up or not. So there we have a test key, and we've got live mode off. So this is probably, but I don't have a Stripe test publishable key. I think it got put in the database, if I remember correctly. But I think we're good there too. Bring back the scene. So, and this is my env example file, so I'm not showing anything secret here. We might be in a spot where we can just click the button and see what happens. And as long as it goes to the Stripe page, I'm pretty comfortable with it. In fact, I'm going to do it from the settings page, which is a new place. Although I'll probably do it from a couple. So let's refresh this. We're on the settings page, and I'm going to click activate your account. And it has sent me to Stripe checkout. The back button is taking me to localhost 5001 because it's configured in my admin improperly when it was on a different port. But this is all the correct information that I would expect. And then I'm sure the success URL is going to be similarly localhost 5001/success. I'm not worried about those parts. Those are powered by the payment gateway. And so those configuration parts are correct. The fact that we even got here is indicative that the publishable key was right and the price was right because we got the right place notified here. All right, so the second place we can do it is here. And this is the one that was before, and it's also working. No shocker, because it's the same template tag. So I feel pretty good about this trial banner functioning as I would anticipate. There is, so I'm trying to wonder if is there a scenario I should be concerned about? I don't know. The network tab for this might be bringing in Stripe twice. Because the settings page also needed Stripe, I'm pretty sure. Let's go to the settings template. And you can see, okay, here's a difference. Oh, no. Okay, so we're okay here because this is the states are going to be kept separate. So because this is only coming up in the active state, we're never going to be including the script at the same time as the trial one. And even if we did, this would be creating a Stripe URL in a different fashion via the payment gateway rather than using the Stripe JavaScript interface. So that's okay. Okay. Wow, that was way more than I anticipated. Let's check out some stuff, and then I do want to clean up. There's a little bit of Dependabot work that has to go on with this, but let's walk through the changes we made. We saw it already functional. We can do a deploy, maybe even to get it out there, and let people try it. If you want to try it, if you've never tried Journey Inbox before, you're welcome to sign up at journeyinbox.com. You won't see the trial banner yet, but that's coming. So we've moved our fixtures up to the top level conf test, and we said use them every time. Because SQLite is so fast, there is no performance hit or no noticeable performance hit. I should have just leaned into that. I'm super impressed with SQLite. There's really part of me that wants to make this entire project use a SQLite database and never worry about N+1 query bugs again. I've gotten some, actually, interesting. So the other project that I have, the homeschool app, I've gotten some errors or some messages from Sentry about issues. And they're warning me about a couple of N+1 scenarios that I knew about. And N+1 is an interesting thing with SQLite. If you study it, so what's fascinating with SQLite is that it's just a file on disk, and you open it up like any other file, and you have a library that interacts with it. That's how SQLite, libSQLite is kind of functioning. And it means that N+1 queries are like not a thing. In fact, let me see. SQLite 3, go to their main homepage, and then go, oh no, it's on like SQLite Fossil. Yeah. So SQLite is even built with their own, it's not using Git, it's using their own source control tool called Fossil. And here's the Fossil website, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So this page was generated in 0.003 seconds by Fossil. But what's even cooler, if I can find it, is, well, maybe it's not here. Some of these pages, I thought it used to say like, and did X many queries, which was super fascinating that it could do that, because it's so fast that it like the developers of SQLite will even say like, we don't worry about N+1 and that kind of stuff, because the problem with N+1 in a scenario like where you're using Postgres is you have to talk one computer to another. So you're doing a network. So every time you're like calling for an N+1 situation, which is basically calling in a loop and asking for the next thing and the next thing, you have to do that network travel over and over again. And with SQLite, that's just an API call. And yeah, there's a little bit of overhead, but it's certainly not network latency. It's like a method call with a little bit of stuff that has to happen in the actual database to do the fetch. So the effect is that an N+1 query bug, which is super common in like Postgres, could exist in SQLite, but not have any real material impact on performance. So my homeschool app, which has a known scenario, which I didn't know how to optimize, like the tables, to make that better, if I could just have it on SQLite instead, would be like infinitely faster than it is, which is so tempting. So I'm not going to do that right now, but I'm thinking about a project in the future that maybe I could do that. And what's the cost of that? And can Heroku run in that some kind of environment? If not, what kind of hosting would I need to use? It's a very, very interesting scenario in my mind. Okay, set that aside though. So we've got our fixtures there. We've got our new inclusion tag that's doing some template rendering. It has some shenanigans on the trial banner. I guess we are managing to hit this code. I've not explicitly tested this code, but since rendering is hitting it, and I feel comfortable with that, it's okay. There might even be, I wonder if that core index test, the test index is working the way I think it is. So let's go to that, test that thing, because I don't know that I ever looked. I wonder if it's checking for context. No, we just We just rendered it, so we really didn't change much there. What we're looking for. We pulled out the fixtures. We pulled off the use of those fixtures because they're now global, and we pulled that stuff out of the index page, which I love. I love that we didn't. The index page felt kind of nasty. The fact that it had to know this gateway stuff that didn't seem right to me. We still have a test for the publishable key and the price, although they changed where they got their data from. And then we added the trial banner. So there's two very minor changes to the base template. The index page gets cleaned up considerably with its template, removing all that stuff. Super nice. Okay, so let's commit that stuff. We'll say add trial banner. And this fixes number 103. Let's push that up. Let's go work on some pull requests that are waiting for us. Oh, I forgot we've got a whole homepage design thing to work on. Shoot. The other thing that's going on is now that I'm doing this on Thursdays, I should be able to stream next week and the week after. Like, I don't think this is a regular spot that I'll be able to keep open most nights, unless I'm out of town or something, or there's some holiday. So let's look at white noise really quickly. Supports Django 5.1. Great. Go for it. We've got SendGrid, breaking changes. I think I looked at this change log for my other project and didn't see anything. There was nothing related to SendGrid, so I'm just going to merge it. Then we've got our pre-commit stuff, updating our pre-commit tools. Great. PsychoPG. I remember looking at this one too. There's just a bunch of cool database things. Rough. I've noticed recently that because I've got this project set up to update or put out a pull request whenever they're available, is that Rough and Sentry are updating all the time. I might want to change that because it's starting to get annoying. Like, we're not getting a lot of benefit out of the changes that come from every release of Rough. So I might want to change the frequency of that somehow. We might look into that configuration on that file later. And only update when it, is a few major versions from now or something. I don't want to get too far behind though. So there's the challenge there. Sentry, same thing. It's like constantly revving. They're doing a lot of work, but they're working on like the whole Python ecosystem of web tools. So it's few and far between the things that actually truly affect us. So let's merge that. Okay. And then we've got the one other one, which is one of the other issues that we'll get to soon. We now have conflicts we've got to fix. I don't remember even what we put in here. Oh, we were going to start. Yeah, I remember now. We were going to start showing the latest entry instead of the message of, hey, there's no user interface here. Yeah, okay. Yep, we'll definitely have to clean that up. So let's go ahead and pull this down. A bunch of requirements changes. I am going to wait for some kind of green light signal from GitHub Actions so we can kind of keep that up in the background. Let's get rid of that. Those should go green and be fine. Let's take a quick look at the issue list, see what's left. We're on one page. Nice. Oh, we just did this. because we have the trial banner now, the settings page has a call to action for a trialing account. So we don't need that. That's like double of what we, it's just duplication of what we just did. I'm frankly not worried about Honeypot right now. The more I think about it, we've got email verification. That alone is going to block plenty of accounts. And this is not a big enough project to be fretting about this. So that doesn't seem like a good use of time. So let's close it. It's good to have space every once in a while and be like, do we actually need this? Okay, we know that we're going to do this part about like late in the trial. We need to ask people if they want to sign up. That's still good. And then we also have this one down here with this open branch to update the user interface so that it actually shows entries. So that's still useful. What else do we need? I do think that if you go to the site, this experience is dull. It is informative, no doubt, but it's very dull. And I'm not surprised that, well, first of all, I don't know if people are even getting here because one thing I haven't done well on this stream, and I haven't cracked the nut on this, is how do we talk about like the marketing aspect? In fact, the business and the marketing aspects, those are all probably, I was about to say more important. They are at least equally important to the code. Like if you write the greatest code in the world, but nobody else notices it, how are you getting any attention on stuff? So I do feel like I'm underserving this audience. Is like, if you're really serious about getting into, I mean, some of you might just be here to learn about Django stuff. That's cool. But if you're really serious about doing software as a service, which is what this entire stream is titled, I'm not really doing you any favors or doing myself any favors by not exploring more marketing stuff. So I think there's a certain amount where we need to get into marketing, communicating. But that being said, assuming we have a marketing funnel and there's people actually coming to the site, which is a hard enough problem in and of itself, the site is not appealing from a like catches your eye and makes you want to try it. So there's work that needs to be done to make that the unauthenticated page interesting. So that's where logo work comes in. That's where favicons. There's like all sorts of polish that needs to happen here. The open graph, Twitter card, or I guess it would be X card now, Facebook metadata. We want to have that be appealing, but you need to have some, like, I don't think we can do this metadata thing, or I don't think we should do this metadata thing until we have some kind of core imagery and a real facelift on this so that there's something to pull from. So I don't want to do that yet, but it might be worth getting into some logo work, favicon work, and so on. So I think those will probably be the things that we want to focus on after finishing these current items that are like assigned to me right now, where this is the, do you want to use this? And this is the, let's make this, more than just a message of, hey, the UI is coming. So those are good things that we'll tackle in the future. And I probably need some kind of hint to myself that I should work on that. So let's go to logo. And let's say, or this is not the right way to do this. Never mind. Don't do this. What we really want is an issue on work on journey inbox branding. That's what we really are talking about. This should really be a whole milestone. This should be a milestone that adds a lot of polish to the brand. Brand is, I don't know, feels hokey, but it's important, right? Like you need, like the site needs to represent itself well. It needs to sell its value proposition. What are we trying to say? All of that kind of thing. All right, I really doubt this is going to let me deploy without making me log in, but we'll try. Let's check over here. All green. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. That's still remembering my credentials. Let's see if it's going to prompt us for a Python install. Nope. Cool. So there's no new version of Python for Heroku. So this is going to be a pretty quick install. So I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Would appreciate a thumbs up or a like. That would be useful. If you want to subscribe to my channel, that'd be even better. And if you really are feeling awesome, there's a bunch of ways to be members. You can either sign up for Journey Inbox and use it. That's great. I love giving like value for value. And if you find my teaching is enough value, there's Patreon and YouTube memberships and stickers and all sorts of stuff. I'm really grateful for that stuff. I do have some things in mind, so I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can. So if I move my chair, this is my green screen behind me. And I thought this would be sufficient, but I'm discovering I don't like it. What I really have to be, you may not have noticed, but I am like pretty locked back in my chair right now, and it gets uncomfortable after a while. So any funds that I get with this, I try and invest back in the streaming setup. I'm in a corner in my basement, so I would like to get a green screen for this wall right behind me that will allow me to not worry about rotating being a problem. So that's kind of the next thing. That is my focus on where to spend some of the money that's come in for the stream. And that's the kind of stuff that I use it for, is buying monitors and gear and working on improving that to try and improve the quality overall. Eventually I'll get out of the physical stuff and then move more into like, this is boring and this is boring and this is boring and so on. So, maybe there's a future where we sign up for open API stuff and create images with the actual like paid service and create some fun backgrounds and do some other stuff like that. So that's what I try and use this money that comes in for, in case you're wondering, because it's certainly not paying my bills and not putting food on my table for my family. Dev Suthar, let me look at your question here before. So we're about to sign off. Actually, one thing, let me make sure before I answer your question that okay, the deploy is done. I can't verify that the trial thing is going, but if anybody trials it, hopefully you'll see the banner. So you're asking, let's see. You have a question. And so is your question, can a SaaS, I'm trying to parse your question, and maybe English is not your first language, or maybe you wrote this out quickly, so apologies for me not interpreting this very quickly right away, but I will do my best. You say, hello, sir, I have a question. Like SaaS-based project can be any topic, as an example, account or a web-based sec framework, some like security framework, something like. I think that there are, yeah. So my answer for you is yes. There are software as a service for all kinds of things. Yes, I've seen, and I work with companies at work. I work in a healthcare company, and we have, as an enterprise company, we have to do a lot of security stuff to comply with US healthcare laws. So part of that is working with a whole category of tools called SaaS, which I always forget what it stands for. Let's see. Yeah, static application security testing. So you can make a software as a service that fits all sorts of different market needs. Mine is much more. This is basically a B2C play is what they would call it. A business to is charging hundreds or thousands of dollars a month for some product that targets businesses. So a recommendation for a lot of software as a service offerings is to, if you really are looking to make lots of money as your objective, which is totally reasonable, is to go after business to business kind of markets and work in that space. That is a whole different kind of work from what we're doing here, where this is very heavily focused on user experience. And while user experience is important for all products, the level of user experience is going to vary on what's necessary for a business-minded customer. The business is going to care much more about, are you solving my problem? And as I said, with this project, I solved the problem a while ago. That was the first thing I did, was built this email journaling tool, and the rest would be kind of bells and whistles on top of that. So yeah, you can make a software as a service on just about anything. Anything that you can put online and sell as a digital good there's probably somebody who's trying to make a software as a service as that. All right, I think that's going to be it for me. I'm going to call it. Third time was the charm, apparently. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. We'll carry on with the other kinds of polish that we're doing on the app. Until then, take care.